The People's Republic of China as chairman of the People's Republic, Mao Zedong was finally in a position to make his version of Marxism, eventually enshrined as the Marxism-Leninism Mao Zedong thought, the guiding philosophy behind the party and the country's new government. Creating striking similarities to the dynastic systems that came before him, Mao built a system of bureaucracy able to efficiently and tightly control and lead society at all levels. Essentially, the party set policy, which was implemented by government officials from the central down to the village township level, all of whom were also members of the CCP. The end result was a government operating as an organ of the party. Aside from a brief interlude in 1950, when China intervened in the Korean War to save the North Koreans from being wiped off the map, Mao's focus was on furthering the reforms begun by the Communist Party during its years of wielding power from amongst the farmers in China's vast countryside. These reforms were accelerated with propaganda never seen before. In 1958, Mao launched the Great Leap Forward. China was to achieve a massive increase in crop production in lightning speed through the immediate collectivization of China's farmlands. Collectivization would in turn free up oodles of labor that then could be put to work producing steel, thereby building China's industrial might virtually overnight. The reality was quite different from the vision. In the 3 years that the policies of the Great Leap Forward were implemented, 30 million people are estimated to have starved to death in what many consider to be the greatest man-made famine in history. China slowly began to recover from the devastation wrought by the Great Leap Forward, though with little help from her neighbors. Following closely on the heels of Mao's experiment came a decisive break with and closure of the money tap from the Soviet Union in 1962. The return to stability and productivity following such a massive disruption of the country's economy was not swift, nor without political consequences for Mao. Primary among them was a visible retreat from some of his more aggressive policies, in an attempt to appease his increasingly vocal opponents. But as with rulers before him, the possibility that his position as the supreme ruler was under threat galvanized Mao into action, and in 1966 Mao's next major campaign, the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution, got underway. For a full decade, China can best be described as existing in a state of general anarchy. The very fabric of society, the hierarchy that those centuries of dynastic rule had virtually perfected, was torn to shreds, with Mao and his followers exhorting China's youth to question, rebel and defend against the renewal of authority. And respond they did, as students turned Red Guards believing Mao's exhortation that red is best, ruled the streets, each one working to prove that he was redder than the rest. During the 10 years that the Cultural Revolution ran its course, universities and schools were closed. Historical sites, artifacts, documents and any symbols of the West, along with the people connected with these things, was summarily destroyed, devastating China's record of the last 5,000 years of her history. By 1969, growing weary of the fighting and with little left to destroy or overturn, the political turmoil caused by the movement eased, though the disruptions did not completely abate until Mao's death in 1976. The cult of Mao that formed during these years reflects a remarkable ability on the part of a tremendous leader to tap into the fears, needs and motivations of a significant population. He had help, in the form of his sidekick, the confidant Lin Biao, a general in the People's Liberation Army, but he also had his own recipe of powerfully potent charisma. Mao's personality cult persisted until his death. His heir apparent Lin Biao then disappeared in a mysterious, and some say directed, plane crash in 1971. Mao's death left China with no one at the helm, resulting in a brief but significant power struggle among the highest ranks of the party. The battle was between the hardliners, more moderate reformers and the radicals. It was won by a well-known name, Mr. Deng Xiaoping, and his supporters. The year 1978 marked Deng's third return to prominence, having lost favor twice before. The story of his remarkable opening of China to foreign investment and establishment of a socialist market economy is well known, and perhaps best encapsulated in his classic quote, "It doesn't matter if a cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice." This acknowledgement of the power for positive change that the accumulation of wealth can provide is a mantra that still guides many of the white-collar professionals working the halls of any one of the international businesses in China today, from legacy of cyclical struggle, unification, collapse and regular periods of complete chaos, to one unified country, with 1 billion people living collectively on 9,326,410 square kilometers of land, contributing daily to GDP that rivals that of the world's most developed nations. Adaptation and change, advancing on the foundations created by the previous dynasty, ruler or philosopher, has been built into the fabric of the country's political and social system for centuries, providing an intensity of purpose, an ability to look beyond roadblocks, and a determination to advance that is unfailing. Despite the many pressures dealt by a large population, a growing gap between urban and rural areas, and between the rich and the poor, China continues down her path of development, creation and innovation, affording more and more opportunities and an increasing variety of adventures to her own people and to those who choose to be her guests, for a day, a month, or possibly a few years.